Ciao a tutti ragazzi, in this Italian class we are gonna cover everything you need to know about adjectives in Italian, more specifically aggettivi, qualificativi e possessivi in italiano. By the end of this class you will be able to conjugate adjectives no matter the gender, no matter the number, and you will also be able to form comparative and superlative in Italian. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Let's have a look. Aggettivi qualificativi in italiano. As you might recall from the previous classes, in Italian, each part of the sentence will have to be conjugated by the number and the gender. Just a very quick reminder, to identify if a noun is masculine, feminine, singular or plural, you will have to look at the ending. This is the ending, masculine, feminine and plural. Once you have identified if the noun is masculine, feminine, singular or plural, you will have to conjugate both the article. So we're gonna go at the article, which we did always in the first class. The article will have to be conjugated following the noun, but also the adjectives will have to be conjugated following the noun. So let's have a look at an example. Ragazzo, boy, masculine singular, because the O is the ending for masculine singular, we'll have the article il, which is the article we use for masculine singular with the noun that starts with consonant. Il ragazzo, if you want to say the nice boy or simpatico, sympathetic in Italian, we will have to conjugate also the adjective following the noun. So, ragazzo is masculine singular, articolo will be masculine singular, the adjective will be masculine singular. So far, so good. Let's have a look at an example of if we do the same but in the feminine version. We will have la ragazza, the girl, simpatica. If you see, the ending is always in a because we are at the singular feminine. The plural form will be the same. You know, the masculine plural will have an ending in I ragazzi simpatici, the nice boys. And the plural form for the feminine, it's gonna be in the nice girls. That's a bit how you you conjugate the adjectives in Italian. Now, let's have a look at the general rule to form all the declination and conjugation in Italian. The general rule, the most specific rule and the general rule is that when you have a noun or an adjective that at the singular masculine ends in O, for example, nuovo, then you will have to change the ending following this chart for the feminine singular, masculine plural, and feminine plural. For example, nuovo, masculine singular, will be nuova with an A, feminine singular, nuovi, masculine plural, nuove, feminine plural. These endings work 100% on all the adjectives that will have an O at the masculine singular. Of course, also the other way around is possible. No matter if you have a feminine singular adjective like nuova that is ending in a, this translation and conjugation will apply also the other way around. The only exception is masculine singular words that end with an I or E in Italian. For example, intelligente, intelligent, clever, or grande, big. These adjectives, despite ending with an E, they will be masculine singular. It is a bit confusing because usually ending in E is feminine plural, but this is not the case for these adjectives. And unfortunately, the only thing you can do about it is to memorize and know which one, despite having an E at the end, are still singular masculine. So, with the exception of when we are talking about adjectives that end in E, the way they behave when you conjugate them is the following. The singular form will be the same no matter if it's masculine or feminine. So, intelligente will be the same for ragazzo, il ragazzo intelligente, but also for ragazza, la ragazza intelligente. The plural form will also be the same no matter if it's feminine or masculine, but of course will be different than the singular form, and we have it in here. The plural form of the adjective ending in E, it's gonna be with an I at the end. For example, I ragazzi intelligenti, le ragazze intelligenti. Now I'm gonna zoom back. You can refer to this chart when you have to conjugate and if you have to remember how to conjugate the adjective following the noun, because this is pretty good and exhaustive. You cover all the example. There is one single word in Italian that behaves super strangely, and that's the word selfish. We have it down here. Selfish or egoista in Italian, because this word has one singular and two plural. That's super weird, but let's have a look at it. You will be saying egoista if you are referring to a man or a woman at the singular. For example, l'uomo egoista or Alice è egoista. You see, no matter the gender, singular form will always be egoista. However, the plural form will be different if we're talking about masculine or feminine. In fact, if you want to say the men, plural, are selfish, in Italian would be gli uomini sono egoisti, e at the end. If you want to say the women, plural, are selfish, in Italian it would be le donne sono egoiste at the ending. So again, this word, one singular, singular, and two different plural. Now, how do we differentiate when you have a sum of objects that could be either masculine or feminine together? For example, you want to say the lamp and the painting. La lampada e il quadro. So we have here la lampada e il quadro. So these two objects, one is masculine and one is feminine. Obviously, you want to say they are big, or let's say not big, let's use another one, are colored. So you want to say that they are colored, but how do you conjugate? Are you going to use the masculine? Are you going to use the feminine? Because one is masculine, one is feminine. Of course, you will be using the plural, but which form? The masculine or the feminine one? Well, usually in the Italian language, whenever you have a mixed set of objects, you will be using the masculine plural. In this case, it will be sono colorati. Colorati. And this is because the Italian language has this convention that we will be using the ending of masculine plural whenever there is a mixed set of objects. Here we have an example where both the noun are plural masculine. So if both are masculine, it's easy. You will use plural masculine. Un libro e un quaderno nuovi. A book and a copybook new. If you have two objects that are feminine, this is the only case in which you will conjugate the plural at the feminine. For example, una penna e una matita nuove. Penna is pencil, is pen, matita is pencil, and they are both feminine in Italian, so the plural form will naturally be feminine plural. The last example is what I just explained you. We have two objects, una penna, which is feminine singular, and un libro, masculine singular. The adjective is going to be nuovi, masculine plural. So that's pretty much everything you need to know when it comes to conjugating the adjective in Italian. Now let's have a look at some interesting use cases, because we want to learn how to build sentences and to form comparison between nouns in Italian. The very first thing we're going to look at is comparativo. Comparativo is the structure that allows us to make comparisons between objects. For example, il gatto è più intelligente del cane. The cat is more clever than the dog. I don't know if it's true, but let's assume that that's the example, right? This comparativo in which we are saying more clever or more intelligent, it's called di maggioranza because there is more in it. When we want to say less, equivalent, in Italian it's called comparativo di minoranza. For example, we have Sandro è meno rilassato di Franco, which means Sandro is less relaxed than Franco. So this meno is the equivalent of less in English, and this più is the equivalent of more in English. Oops. You will notice that you will note the use of del or di, which is the equivalent of den in English, but there are some exceptions that we will have a look at in a second. Now, the last comparison we are doing, we've seen when something is more than something. We have also seen when something is less than something. How do you say when something is equal as something? And in Italian it would be Giulio è disperato come Giulia. Giulio is desperate as Giulia. So this come, which in Italian can mean how or like or as, is the equivalent that we use in Italian to form the comparison. So Giulio is as desperate as Giulia. One more time, più for more, less for meno, come for as or like comparisons. Now, let's have a look at the most interesting part of this structure, which is the usage of del, di, which in English would be then. So let's have a look. Here it says the second element of comparison, the di, will be different according to certain set of rules. Let's have a look. We will be using di for then, so I'm gonna put it here again to be transparent and clear. We will be using di for then when the comparison is done on a name of a person, a pronoun, an adverb. So if we want to say Eva è più triste di Anna, so Eva is more sad than Anna, triste is sad, Eva is more sad than Anna, then we will be using di for then, because Anna is a noun of a person. Let's have a look at when we are comparing against a pronoun. Eva è più triste di me. Me, pronoun, we will be using di when we're doing the then. For avverbio, adverb, it's the same logic. Eva è più triste di ieri. Eva is more sad than yesterday. In those three cases, name of a person, pronoun, and adverb, we will be using di. Now, there is one case in which we will be using di plus article, which in the example here is this del. This del, it's simply di plus article il. We will cover in another class how you form this, but just for the moment, keep in mind that del is articolo partitivo, and by the way, it's the plural of articoli indeterminativi, but we will cover in the next class. So when do you use di plus article when you're forming a comparison? Well, you will be using it when the comparison is done with a noun. Sostantivo is noun. So, but the difference with this noun here is that nome proprio means noun of a person. This is a generic noun. For example, Eva è più triste della sua amica. Eva is more sad than her friend. So amica is the generic noun that we are having in here for the comparison, and this is why di becomes di plus la. Di plus la equals della, because the article for amica would be la. We still have to use the di for the comparison, but we combine it in della. However, there is one more exception in which instead of saying di, we say che, but the English translation is the same. It's still gonna be then. So in English, we will always be saying then, but in Italian, sometimes it's di, del, della, or sometimes even che. Now, when do we use che? We use che when the comparison is done with an adjective, a verb, or a preposition. For example, queste scarpe sono più belle che comode. Scarpe is shoes, comode is comfy. And what we're saying here is we are comparing something against an adjective, comfy. And this is why we say these shoes are more beautiful than comfy. Notice that this is still translated with then, but it's not di, it's not del, it's che. The reason why we're doing that, again, is because we are comparing with an adjective. The same case would be for the next, verbo. For example, Mi piace di più camminare che correre. I like more walking than running. So we are comparing the action of walking with the action of running, which is a verb. And the last one is una preposizione. For example, con is a preposition which in Italian means with. Again, even if we are comparing with a preposition, we will have to use che. For example, cammino meglio scalzo che con le scarpe. This means I walk better without shoes than with shoes. Again, notice this che still translates with than in English. We just had a look at how to form comparison in Italian, so when you're comparing two elements with each other. But now let's have a look at the superlative in Italian. Superlative is basically the equivalent of English, say, the tallest, or very big, or the biggest, the most beautiful. You know, this construction in Italian is called superlativo. Now, let's have a look. There are two types of superlativi. One is relativo, and the example would be the following. Marco è il più elegante dell'ufficio, which means Marco is the most elegant in the office. Notice that here we're still using the plus article because ufficio is a noun. And this construction, il più elegante, it's our superlativo relativo. The way you form it is similar to English. You put the article in front of più, or in English would be in front of most, and then you form it. For example, if you want to say Marco is the tallest, in Italian it would be Marco è il più, that is my German keyboard, il più alto. There you have it. Marco è il più alto. Notice that I use the article il in front of più to make the superlativo relativo. I just add più, il. If you see in here, there is no article in front. This is just Eva is more sad. It's not Eva is the most sad. So in Italian, by putting the article, you create this form. Now, how do you say superlativo relativo in Italiano, which means the equivalent of very beautiful? Well, in Italian, there are two ways to go about it. One is you add issimo or issima at the end. So you add issimo or issima, depending if it's masculine, feminine, or issimi, issime, you know, you follow the logic. Actually, let's do it like this. This is issimi, issime is for plural, and issimo, issima is for singular at the end, and it means very. An example is questa tartaruga è velocissima. This turtle is very fast. Velocissima. The adjective is at the basic form veloce. This is the basic form of the adjective. We remove the ending and we add issima because la tartaruga is feminine. Questa tartaruga è velocissima. And it means very fast. Very fast. This is called superlativo assoluto in Italian. Another way to go about it is instead of saying issimo, issima, you will simply say the following. Let me copy and paste this. We're gonna say molto veloce. Molto is the Italian translation of very. Both construction mean the same thing. Velocissima, very fast. Molto veloce, very fast. In one case, you change the ending of the adjective. In the other one, you add molto in front, which is the equivalent of very. I have a few examples here for you to have a look at how we create il comparativo following the rules that we just had a look at. So we need to pay attention if we are comparing against a noun of a person, against a general noun, against a verb, and so on, because this then part will be different every time there is a different element of comparison. So for example, based on the rule that we just saw, Tony is happier than Francesco. Well, I'm comparing myself, Tony, with Francesco. Francesco is the name of a person. In this case, we will be using the simple D. And the translation in Italian would be, let me take another color, verde. Tony è più felice di Francesco. Francesco. Notice that I use più because it's more, or happier, the equivalent, and then I used di because Francesco is the noun of a person. Now, next case is Luca is taller than you. Let me think. Luca, we are comparing Luca with you. In which category you is falling? Well, if we have a look at the sentence we have before, you ends in the category of pronoun. So you, it's not the name of a person, it's not a substantive, it's not a noun, generic noun, but it's a pronoun. So in this case, also the translation will be having di as translation for then. Let me take green again. Luca è più alto di te. Notice name of a person, pronoun. The third example is we are comparing today I am stronger than yesterday. This than yesterday we are comparing with an adverb yesterday. So let's go back. Which preposition do I use if I have an adverb? If you don't remember, you go back in here and you say, oh, it's an adverb, so I still use di. Even in this case, we will be using di. And the translation for this sentence, it's going to be, I'm going to pick up the green one more time. It's going to be oggi, today, sono, I am, più forte, oops, forgot the accent, più forte di ieri. Today I'm stronger than yesterday. Oggi sono più forte di ieri. Let's have a look at the last two examples. You are more beautiful than his friend. Now, we are comparing you with his friend. Friend is a generic noun. Therefore, we will have to use di plus article. The article we choose is the same article that fits with friend, which in Italian is amico. Amico maschile singolare. So, you are more beautiful than his friend. I'm gonna pick the green again. Tu sei più, and again my German keyboard, più bello del, which literally means di plus il suo amico. Notice that here we use del because suo amico is a generic noun. The last one is I like learning Italian more than learning mathematics. So what we are comparing here is learning with learning. And this should ring a bell because when we are comparing with a verb, we will have to use che for the translation of then. So notice that then learning, that's gonna be, should flag something in your head and say, okay, maybe then will have to be translated with che. And in fact, the translation here, it's going to be, what was it? I like, mi piace imparare l'italiano più, oh my god, più che imparare la matematica. Imparare, typo. So notice that for then, in this case, we've been using che. The last three examples I want to show you is for superlativo. If I want to say I am the tallest in the office, that's very easy. What you do is you take the adjective tall, alto, and you add the article in front of the more, like the più in Italian. And the translation would be, still in green, io sono il più alto in ufficio. Il. Notice the use of the article il to make it superlative. This equivalent of, like, adding the article is the equivalent of this est form in English. If I simply want to say I am the tallest, that doesn't matter if it's in the office or not, because it's the same construction. And in fact, in Italian, it's going to be io sono il più alto. Same way. If I am a woman, or if I was a woman, then I would have to be io sono la più alta. Because obviously you need to conjugate always for gender and number. The last example is I am very tall. This is still a superlativo relativo, and as we saw earlier in Italian, we have two types of translations, and one is io sono. You take the adjective and then you add issimo. Io sono altissimo if you're a man, or altissima if you're a woman. Or you can also say io, oops, I'm gonna go below, io sono molto alto or alta, depending if it's a man or a woman. So both construction translate in I am very tall. The last thing I want to cover today before wrapping it up is aggettivi e pronomi possessivi. There is not much we can do about it here, we just need to learn how do you say mine, yours, his, hers, ours, yours, and theirs. Well, as you can expect, in Italian, you will have to conjugate this based on gender and number. Let's have a quick look. If you want to say mine, it's going to be mio for masculine, mia for feminine. If you want to say your, I don't know, your friend, tuo for masculine, tua for feminine. Suo is the equivalent of his, this is for his, il suo, and sua is for her friend. Nostro would be our. Il nostro, la nostra, our. Il vostro, your, but plural. Hey guys, give me your books. You know, plural. Vostro, vostra, masculine, feminine. Ultimately, their, loro. Il loro cane, la loro ragazza, their. The plural form will differ according to masculine and feminine, but here you have the endings. We have miei, tuoi, suoi, nostri, vostri, loro, masculine plural, mie, tue, sue, nostre, vostre, loro, feminine plural. It is important to notice, very important to notice, that when you have aggettivi e pronomi possessivi in Italian, sometimes you will have to use the article in front of it, sometimes not. Let's have a look. So when we talk about aggettivi, so not when we are using this in the pronoun, when we are using all of this as aggettivi, an adjectivo, remember guys, it's always followed by a noun. So when we use this as aggettivi, you will put the article in some cases and not put it in other cases. For example, you will put the articles where you're talking about non-family member. For example, my cat would be il mio gatto. This literally translates with my cat. Cat is not a family member, therefore we put the article in front. My house, your house, la tua casa. We will also use the article when we are talking about family members, but at the plural. For example, I suoi nonni, his grandparents. Grandparents is plural, therefore we will use the article I in front of the adjective. Le nostre nonne, our grandmothers, article in front of it. The last example, the last case in which you will put the article in front of the adjective, in this case, is when we are talking about loro. For example, obviously referring to a family member. For example, you're saying their cousin or their mom. In the case you're talking about family, no matter if it's singular or plural, if the adjective used is loro or their, you will have to put the article. Il loro cugino, la loro mamma. You do not put the article when we are talking about name of family, but at the singular form. For example, my dad. My dad, it's gonna be similar to English. You don't say il mio padre. You just say mio padre. Your mom, tua mamma. You don't say la tua mamma. And same applies with zio, which is uncle, or with sorella, which is sister, fratello, which is brother. What we've seen so far up here is only when we're talking about the usage of mio, tuo, suo, whatever in aggettivi, so as aggettivi. When we are used as pronomi, you always put the article. Always put the article, no matter if it's family member, singular, plural, doesn't matter. You always put the article when this particle of the sentence is used as a pronoun. For example, la mia macchina è veloce. My car is fast. And yours e la tua. In both cases, in the first case, we are using la to mia, which is an adjective, because macchina is not a family member, so we use la. In the second case, we are using the article in front of tua because tua is a pronoun. And no matter if it's a pronoun, we always use the article, even if the pronoun is referring to car, which is not a family member. Let's have a look at another example. Mio figlio è il primo della classe. E il tuo? In this case, we have two different examples. In the first sentence, mio is used as an adjective, but for a family noun, my son. So, in front of a family noun at the singular, you do not put the article. However, il tuo and your son is a pronoun, therefore we will be using il in front of it. So look in both examples, la tua, il tuo, they are pronoun, you put the article. I have a few examples here. I'm just gonna do a few for you. Let me delete this one because it's repetitive. My cat belongs to my dad. Well, let's have a look. Here we're talking about family member. Let me do like this. And we, as usual, use our green for Italian. And the translation is gonna be il mio gatto. You put il because cat is not family member and mio is an adjective. Il mio gatto appartiene. Now we have dad. Dad is a family member and it's singular. You don't say al mio papà. You say a mio papà. So in this case, you have the article because cat is not family member. And in this case, you do not have the article because papa is family member but singular. Let's have a look at the second sentence. My mom feeds my dog. Well, the first one is a family member, the singular form, and the second one is an animal, so not a family member, even though arguably dogs are also family member. But either way, in Italian, they don't behave the same way. So, family member, mom, you do not put the article. Mia mamma ciba o nutre, for feed, nutre il mio cane. Article because dog is not a family member, even though arguably is. Let's have a look at the first one. Is this your book? Yes, it is mine. Now, in this case, this it is mine, we are referring to a pronoun, mine. In front of the pronoun, you always have the article, no matter if it's family member or not. So, the translation for this sentence is going to be questo è il tuo libro. Il tuo libro, you put il because libro is not family member. Sì, è il mio. Il mio, this one is an adjective. It's an adjective because it's referring to book. This one is a pronoun because it's referring to libro, but actually it stands, it's not referring, it stands for libro. As always, at the end of each class, I leave you a few exercises that you can do on your own. This one you have to add the ending, so conjugating the adjective in Italian following the subject. Here you have to link each adjective with its opposite. For example, alto, tall, will be linked with basso. So what you will have to do is you take the connection line. Why did it go there? Let me try to take another connection line. You take alto, okay, it's going there for some reason, I don't know. Anyway, alto will be linked with basso, tall, opposite, short, alto, basso. So do this on your own time and practice both the adjective and the vocabulary. And this is a bit more advanced. You will still have to use the adjective at the right gender and number. I hope you have everything clarified when it comes to adjectives in Italian, at least aggettivi qualificativi, and I look forward to see you in our next class. Enjoy learning Italian, guys!